Okay, let's cover here mostly for umpires, but this could also come into play for line of scrimmage officials. Ineligibles downfield on a pass. What are we looking for? Remember what the rule is. The ball is snapped here at the 41. So linemen, they've got 3 yards. So they've got to the 44. And just like with quarterbacks being past the line of scrimmage, we want to see their entire body clearly beyond 3 yards. It's at the point that the ball is released. And you've got to be very careful on these, because when these guys are on the run, and these plays are designed this way to put them on the run, when that ball is released, where are they? See here, he's right at 3 yards. Ball's released, he's right at 3 yards. So it's not where this foot is, it's where that foot is. It's really 2.5. So it's clearly not beyond. We don't have a foul. The other thing is, yes, we have engagement by this offensive player, but at the same time, we would see that, okay, I've got a potential for OPI. I look, what's the ball doing? It's now in the air, being thrown to the other side of the field. We don't have a foul. We see the same type of action. We're engaging. We look back. Quarterback's got the ball. Hold. What happens? What happens? There's the delay, and then even with the delay, regardless of where the ball goes, then we would have a foul for OPI blocking downfield. So again, it's a process. You want to get used to this. See these actions. Even when things don't happen, be sure to reinforce to yourself that you're going through the mental processes on plays to analyze information relative to the status of whether or not potential fouls exist. Okay, same game, different team. This time I believe it's going to be the left guard that we're going to be watching. Ball is snapped from the B30. Ball's in the air. He's right there at about 2.5 to 3 yards at the most. By the time the ball is caught, he's 5 yards and maybe even beginning to block. And that's where we've got to be careful, even with offside, in this case, the offside official, that we don't get trapped. And we don't call a foul here, so there's no problem with that. But you got to be sure that we don't get trapped into saying, oh my gosh, I see a lineman 5 yards downfield just because the pass is in the air. The key is it's where he is at this point when the ball is released. And in this case, he's right at about 2 yards. They're always going to see him further down. I know Byron spends a lot of time with this. It's very rare that they are downfield. And just to give you an example of one that when they sometimes are, it most often happens when there's a broken play, which is what happens here. Quarterback gets flushed out of the pocket, and you're going to see the center, and I believe it's the left guard. They're both clearly 5, maybe even 6 yards downfield when the ball is thrown. And remember, again, the ball's got to go past the line of scrimmage. But in this case, they're far enough. Umpire picks up on this. Our mental processing is correct. 5 yards is too much. And this is a correct call for an ineligible downfield, as well as pass interference. So these two fouls end up being offset. And so that's our philosophy. Let's be sure that we're consistent on applying it, because when we're not, this is what happens. Far more of these are incorrect that we call than are correct, because simply it doesn't happen that often. And when it does happen, as the example we just saw, it's usually going to occur on a busted play. We're going to call it the center here for being too far downfield. Now the ball is snapped at the 27-yard line. So there's our line of scrimmage. 3 yards would give him the 30. The ball's in the air, and where are we? We're staggering the 30. Just like before, we've got to be clearly, every body part has got to be clearly beyond the 30-yard line. It's not, but we look, and right now he looks like he's 5 yards downfield. And so we throw the flag. Unfortunately, it's incorrect. because nobody's downfield, at least not any farther than what they can be. So we're going to call the center, unfortunately, for being downfield. That's an incorrect call. We just got to be sure, guys, especially umpires and line of scrimmage officials, that we don't fall into the trap of over-officiating this play. So, Byron, any comments relative to that? I know you spend a lot of time with the line of scrimmage officials, and I know Butch and Ruben spend a lot of time with the umpires on this.
Guys, the big key is if you're watching the offensive lineman, if they fire out immediately after snap, then you've got a pretty good chance they may be more than 3 yards downfield. But if there's any kind of breakdown in the play where the quarterback is scrambling, then you've got another shot at it. But if it's just a normal pass play where they step back, pass block, and then take a couple of steps, more often than not, they're not going to be more than 3 yards downfield. So your initial thing you want to look at is if they fired immediately or if it's a busted play. Other than that, I would leave it alone because, as Walt said, we're certainly incorrect more often than we are correct on these particular types of fouls.
This is going back now here to the correct play, and this is probably what should have happened on this play. You'll see these guys fire out hard when they're going to run a little bubble screen. And if the ball gets thrown behind the line of scrimmage, in this case, we've got no problem with these guys being downfield. What happens here is that this all gets disrupted. Quarterback has to scramble. Now he's just wanting to dump the ball. Unfortunately, regardless of how he dumps the ball, we've got these guys downfield. Now, the only time we would not want to throw on this, and let's get back again, and Ken may have something to say relative to philosophy, is if the quarterback sees we got anybody, now we just throw the ball legally out of bounds. If we throw the ball legally out of bounds, we do not want a foul called for an ineligible downfield. Really doesn't matter how far downfield he is. But in this case, if the ball is thrown in the field of play, then yes, we would still have a foul. That's the distinction relative to philosophy about knowing when to throw this and when not to.